This is Inspiring Women. We're at the Health Show. I'm so excited. We are going to be speaking to Laurie Evans Bernstein, and this is a collaboration that we're doing with Seven Wire Ventures, where I get the opportunity to speak to some of the fabulous female CEOs and founders of companies. And Laurie, you have a lot of years in healthcare. You've done so many things. You've built companies, you've sold companies, you've operated, you're an entrepreneur, you're a government servant. And I'm just delighted to be speaking to you about Caraway, which is your latest venture. Thank you for being on Inspiring Women.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for collaborating with Seven Wire. They're obviously an incredible partner to Caraway, and I'm excited to talk to you today.
Great. Well, Laurie, let's get started like I always do on Inspiring Women. You've done so many things, but maybe you can give us a little bit about your bio sketch and how that led you here to found Caraway.
Yeah, I think when I was looking at your notes and you were commenting on the different things I've done, I think there's two common threads in my career. One is just a passion for using information and technology to drive improvements in health and in healthcare. And the second thread is building new things and trying to build impactful things. And I think those threads have been consistent throughout, whether it's been on the company side, on the analytics front, on the clinical AI front with previous companies, and also when it comes to government and really being a part of establishing new agencies. The first ONC at HHS was my federal government time, and then I had an appointment in New York to help run the health department in New York State as a deputy commissioner, building a first office on health IT transformation. So I think those two threads, both on the company side and then on the government side, have really led to this incredible opportunity with Caraway, which is a big, ambitious goal to redefine healthcare for a generation.
It is
Gen
a big,
Z.
ambitious goal. And, I will say, first of all, thank you for your government service. Okay, as a public servant, being able to understand how important policy is and actually how large the problems that need to be solved actually are, I think that gives like a very important perspective as a leader of a commercial company, and how to address them. So do you agree? I mean, that's what I see.
I do. I love the time there. Relatively speaking, it was 2 years, both federal and state, and I loved it. Maybe I'll get to go back at some point into government, but I really think it had an incredible impact on my thinking and just the path I've had.
Most people, most leaders that I speak to who have in their sort of repertoire government service, I have found that they just seem to really appreciate the broad scope and have aspirational visions that are large. So let's talk about one of those, which is Caraway.
Okay.
And first of all, you're focused on Gen Z. You're focused as a digital health forward company and addressing a pretty important population.
Yeah, and I think Gen Z in 18 plus for us isn't only the first fully digital, but the largest, most diverse, and socially minded generation, plus a generation whose education, experience, and entry into the workplace have been radically disrupted from COVID.
Yes.
And the first generation growing up with fewer reproductive rights than their mothers.
Yep. Yeah. So let's pause on double click on that point, because I don't think that we can talk enough about I'll call it the devastating Dobbs decision that has taken away rights in a way that is so, I don't want to get emotional about it, but it is a right taken away.
It is a right taken away. And I think that we are seeing we're in this ambitious goal of redefining healthcare for a generation. We're fundamentally changing the way Gen Z experience healthcare by delivering mental, physical, and reproductive healthcare all in one place on a 24/7 basis. And the coming together of mental health and reproductive health is one thing to especially highlight in what we're seeing in our members. And the anxiety that Gen Z feels around their ability to make reproductive health choices, and really making a decision about when and whether they'll have children in their lives is so severely compromised.
Mm-hmm.
And so it underscores the power of our model and our expertise in threading the needle
Yeah.
with respect to mental health and reproductive health, primary care, other things. And even members in New York and California who feel they can make the decisions for themselves and their bodies still feel a lot of stress and anxiety.
Why, Laurie, did you focus on Gen Z? And so, yes, they are the first digitally native population that's out there, but why that particular
I think
area?
The tsunami of need and looking at a time in their life where they should be at the healthiest and happiest
Yep.
in their lives.
Yep,
And yet there's this tsunami of need
yep,
that is very different than previous generations, given some of the things I said earlier. But I think we've all seen the data on mental health. I mean,
Yes.
it's an 83% number on feeling stress and anxiety, 2x the rates in women
Yep.
and people assigned female at birth. And then, of course, the devastating restrictions on the women's health side. So this incredible need, and, you know,
Well, I tell you, earlier this year when the CDC came out with the report of the mental health of girls, where 3
Yeah.
out of 5 girls are feeling hopeless
Yeah.
and sad. I mean, that is, first of all, that is something to think about. Data
I know.
personal when you start to think about it in that
Yeah.
regard. And so I'm glad you're addressing this. Let's talk a bit more about Caraway. So in terms of how do you provide the services, who are your customers,
Yeah.
and how does it work?
Yeah. Love that question. So we have an app. It was one of the first things we built. It's the front door to our care team. It's a 24/7 availability. Our care team is incredibly experienced and has an expertise in this developmental stage that's so crucial, and a specialization and expertise in women. And we, members come in, they chat first. There are always clinicians on the other end of that chat. The app says no questions, ask me anything, no questions too small.
Yep.
And that is a big nod to many things. It's a nod to prevention. It's a nod to come to us for anything you need,
Yep.
instead of going to TikTok.
Yeah.
Right, to get answers that are evidence-based and from very experienced clinicians. And that chat really offers an incredible experience that starts to unlock more of a sense of teaching, giving our members the tools so they feel they have more control over
Yep.
their health over long term. So obviously we're there in the moment of need, and we want to teach skills. We want to give them the tools to help them feel they have more control over healthcare for their lives. So being able to chat and check in for 5 minutes, ask any question you want, have an on-demand visit from the chat, right away in that moment, meeting them where they are on their terms.
Yeah.
Certainly visits can be scheduled as well. Our members love to chat and then have an on-demand visit because
Yeah.
that's when they want to do it. But certainly things can be scheduled. So this virtual capability 24/7, where again our clinicians are very experienced in threading the needle across mental, physical, and reproductive health care. And what I think makes us special in providing that integrated care is being able to specialize in women's health and people assigned female at birth, and this developmental stage. And I
Okay.
think those two things make us our offering and our experience really special.
I think the giving of, do you call them girls? I mean, is this the right term? Or is this not the right term?
It's interesting. I mean, we are our care model, and this is one of the things our members have really brought to us, and a community program we have that I can share later. But our members are really have inspired an inclusive language for
Yep.
us. Everyone belongs at Caraway, full stop.
Yep.
And our expertise in women's health comes after that. And they really led us to that point of inclusivity. And they like to be called different things. They like
Okay.
to be women, they like to be called young women, they like to be called female identifying
Okay.
people. It really,
So you're inclusive. You're
Yeah.
giving your members agency, which gives some control.
Yep.
And that is an important thing
Yep.
during a time when things feel very out of
It
control.
is. And one of the other things we're doing that we were in, again, came from our members when we first went live. We've been seeing patients for just over a year, which
Yep.
is very exciting. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. And when we first opened our doors last September, we were getting a lot of members in coming to us late at night
Yep.
having panic attacks.
Yep.
And so one of the things we've done is create a set of digital tools inside our app. And what we've done, our chief health officer is a psychiatrist, and she gathered some of her advisors also in psychiatry and psychology, and really laid out the literature on ACT and DBT and CBT, the alphabet soup
Yep.
of sort of evidence-based literature with respect to mental health, and really repackaged it in a way that is short
Yep.
and interactive and able to teach members skills.
Yep.
So they're learning and doing exercises within the app that our clinicians can recommend.
Yep.
That's typically when they do them most, is when
Yep.
they're recommended that they
is-
do them. And then our clinicians can monitor how the member is doing
Yep.
on those exercises. And one of the really key parts of that, so one, panic attacks was the inspiration, and members can go back over and over again and do that panic attack
Yep.
exercise, that learning and doing exercises again and again and again. And as our clinicians see how they're doing, they can offer further advice and intervention there. And we've gone on to develop a lot more skills building programs
You know,
within
I
the app.
happen to know a young woman who has had an episode of a panic attack that just, I mean, to say it took her breath away in a way that
Right.
was very disconcerting
Right.
is an understatement. Rocked her world,
Yeah.
and didn't know what to do in the moment. And of
Right.
course, it has some longer term effects. Now,
Right.
just going back to Caraway, just to make
Yeah.
sure I understand it.
Yeah.
So, who is the customer? Is it a health plan? Is it an employer?
It is. We think so. We started, yes,
Yeah,
is the
okay.
short answer. We went to market a year ago, direct to consumer,
Uh-huh.
on purpose,
Yeah.
right? Wanted to get to market quickly, wanted to start learning.
Sure.
You know, it's really seeing the impact of our care model,
Yeah.
which is really tremendous. Once we engage someone in care, members come back 80% of the time.
Great.
It's a special experience that we've curated. And so we did that, and we used college campuses as a way to talk about
Begin.
Caraway and promote Caraway. And that's where this Caraway Crew program comes in that I mentioned, where we've recruited, it's mostly women, we have some men, and they are in different colleges and universities
Sure.
across the country or in the states that we're open in, and they have a real passion for Caraway. And a lot of the passion comes in with respect to the mental health side.
Sure.
In addition to weaving that together, just treating mental health in a vacuum isn't enough for Gen Z. It doesn't have the impact that it has. It still presents all these complexities of the rest of the healthcare system that they can't navigate.
Yeah, Laurie, I think
And
that
so-
that you're not treating it in a vacuum, and you have this integrated approach to what are pressing needs
Right.
of a particular just age population
Right.
seems really incredible.
Yeah, and they love that, and that has inspired them, in addition to sort of the women's health specialization,
Sure.
to really promote Caraway on their campuses on their own. It's volunteer. It's
Right.
hundreds of people doing this,
Yep.
and they bring Caraway to their health fairs. They write op-eds in the newspaper. They put information at the favorite smoothie shop in the community. Whatever it is,
They're doing TikTok videos of you. That's happening too.
Right. And so they really, it's been this incredible way to, learn and get to market. And obviously you're highlighting the digital sort of advertising and other things that are woven into that, but showing up
Yep.
with this sort of, sometimes we say ground game, it's been really, really impactful.
Well, Laurie, you're making progress and you're getting traction
Yeah.
and you're delivering something that
Yeah.
truly is meeting an unmet need, and it's wonderful.
Thank
So
you.
now you're no stranger to scaling companies and
Yeah.
knowing how large these issues
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
So how are you going to scale it? And I know
Yeah.
that for early stage companies, you probably have 85 things going on. Even before you got here, I think I saw you on 13 calls, just to get to where we are.
I think that it's a great question. And yes, no stranger to scale and, having to make hard choices and priorities. So I think that we're really, looking at the macro sort of issues around payers and employers. And the data's, by 2030, Gen Z makes up 30% of
Right.
the workforce, $2 trillion in earnings.
Yes.
76%.
If we can get the folks back to the office, are they coming? Tell me.
I think it's mixed. I think we have a lot of Gen Z members in our company, just to say we really live and breathe being built with and for Gen Z.
Yes.
And they want to be in the office. We have a hybrid, workforce. People live with a lot of people on the West Coast, spread around. We do have a concentration in New York, which is where we're headquartered, and they want to be in the office. They understand how much you learn by being in the conversation.
Look, just the
Right.
social interaction,
Right.
the ability to
Right.
professionally mature
Right.
just through being in environments. I mean,
Right.
I have 20-somethings as my children,
Right,
and
so-
the fact that
right.
they are in the office, I'm so thankful for, because
Right.
I feel like this is where
Yeah.
you learn. So that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Laurie, let's just pivot a little bit, for all that you're doing in Caraway. If you were to fast forward, crystal ball, think about the big issues. So how can we bend the cost curve? How can we improve the outcomes? What is your aspirational vision of what you think might be possible? Maybe 5 years out, 10
Yeah.
years out, whatever time frame
I think
you think about.
Yeah, I think that is the question that's on all of our minds. I mean, I think this whole event is, honing in on that. And I think despite all of our best efforts, we're not doing that well improving outcomes. We're not doing that well reducing healthcare costs. And I think for us, it really comes back to where we started. We have a really big vision to completely change health and healthcare for a generation, and providing a fundamentally different experience to do that in some of the ways that we were describing, and really tailoring our care and experience towards the dramatic things that this generation has impacted. We feel we will make an effort. We will make an impact on quality. We will make an impact on cost. We have to, right?
Yeah.
We just have to. And I think that we have a tremendous chance by working so closely with our members and really meeting them where they are. We know Gen Z better than anyone.
Yep.
And in that respect, we feel we'll make a great impact, and we'll be held accountable to that. I think we're hearing that a lot more in the industry, and it's going to be solutions that can demonstrate those impacts that will win the day.
Well,
So,
it sounds great, and I'm rooting for you. I mean, I
Thank
think
you.
that it's a very, very important space. It's an
Thank you.
enormous. It's not the opportunity; it's the opportunity to solve what are pretty significant problems. And I
Yeah.
really love the way that you're thinking about it from an integrated care approach, as well as sort of designing with the knowledge that these are
Thank you.
digital natives.
Thank
Laurie, we're on Inspiring Women, and
I know,
can't
I
not
know.
talk about the gender divide for women in leadership. So if we could just close out
I
on your
know,
thoughts, how we're going to solve that.
We're going to solve it by really stepping into it and being bold and not shying away from the hard problems, and leaning on our communities, leaning on other women, leaning on other men, and just pushing hard, really persevering. I think we'll get there. We've made a lot of progress. We have a long way to go, but
We've made progress,
I'm
we've gone
hopeful.
backwards, and I'm hopeful that some,
hopeful.
companies like yours, with you at the helm, your success will close the gap even faster. So I'll be looking forward to that.
Thank you so much.
This has been a
Thank
great
you.
Inspiring Women conversation. I've been
Thank
speaking
you.
with Laurie Evans Bernstein, and thank you, Laurie,
you.
so much.
Thank you so much.
This has been an episode of Inspiring Women with Laurie McGraw. Please subscribe, rate, and review. We are produced by Kate Cruz at Executive Podcast Solutions. More episodes can be found on inspiringwomen.show. I am Laurie McGraw, and thank you for listening.